Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ImageFast webinar on the CoSign Digital Signature Solution. My name is Holly Murphy, Marketing Executive at ImageFast, and I'll be hosting this webinar alongside my colleague Mark Oberer, who's our pre-sales consultant. So, just a quick overview of today's agenda. The areas that we're mainly going to be focusing on are the different types of signatures that you're commonly coming across, as well as some limitations. We will then go more into depth on what CoSign Digital Signatures actually are, as well as some of their benefits. And then my colleague Mark will take you through the breakdown of how CoSign works in a content server and various applications, leading on to a demo of the solution. There will be an opportunity to ask questions throughout the webinar, and we will answer these at the end. So, a brief introduction to ImageFast. ImageFast are a leading information management consultancy focused on helping customers empower their information. ImageFast was founded in 1997, offering solutions to capture, control, and communicate clients' information. We have achieved over 100 document management implementations with clients such as Hiscox, RBS, and many more. ImageFast has partnered with ARX, who have been established for over 20 years, and these are the guys that are the developers of the CoSign Digital Signature solution. So, next, some basics on digital signatures. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, so I'm just going to take you through the most commonly discussed signature types we've come across. The first one being wet signatures. So this is typically printing a document out and signing it with a pen. Now, some of the limitations include the verification and identification of this type of signature. So who is actually signing this document, and does the signature actually belong to that person? The second one being issues with printing the document. So you're having to take it out of your process or your system and then sign it and then put it back in. The next one is electronic signatures, which typically involves using a signing pad, or if you have signing pads within your signing process already. So an electronic signature can be a type of name or a digitalized image of a handwritten signature. Therefore, e-signatures are very problematic with regards to maintaining integrity and security, as nothing prevents one individual from typing another individual's name. Secondly, there is no validation to ensure the document hasn't changed since last signed. And the final type is conventional digital signatures. They use digital certificates to help identify and verify a user's signature. So, some limitations for this type of signature is that there is no limited document integrity. So you still can't check if the document has been changed after signing, and this solution is also fairly expensive. This now brings me on to the CoSign Digital Signature solution and how it actually addresses and overcomes many of the issues and concerns in a compliant and secure way. CoSign Digital Signature solution is built on the basis that a proper digital signature is proof of identity, intent, and integrity. Users log in to sign and authenticate themselves, at which point identify themselves, then go on to sign and provide a reason, which is a form of intent. And then the integrity is being able to validate and verify the signature to ensure it's from the person who originally signed it and the content of the document hasn't been changed since signed, which previous signatures discussed struggle to apply. Compliance and security is always going to be key drivers, which is why the CoSign Digital Signature Solution standards provide universally verified signatures and documents which are compliant and meet many regulatory requirements, which include, for example, European directives and a list of many more globally. Digital signatures enable the replacement of slow and expensive paper-based approval processes with fast, low-cost, and fully digital ones. And finally, and most importantly, enhanced security. CoSign Central stores the signing keys in a centralized and secure hardware device, ensuring that any tampering attempts with the secure CoSign appliance will be detectable. I'm now going to pass you over to Mark, who will discuss the integration of the CoSign signatures, followed by a demo.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark, as kindly introduced by Holly, and I just wanted to run through with you, before we get on with the demo, a little bit more about the CoSign application support and the overview of the infrastructure in regards to the solution we're going to be looking at today. I know today we are focusing mainly on CoSign within a content server open text environment, but just to give you a background, CoSign can actually be integrated with many other popular applications. I've got a list of a few on the slide now. Some examples include Microsoft SharePoint. We also have a Microsoft Office, so this is in regards to using CoSign just as a standalone digital signature solution for signing Office documents like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, for example. We also have support for web browsers. So another example would be web forms. So in an instance we have web forms you want users to sign, CoSign integrates very well here. In regards to engineering or structural type documentation, Autodesk, more formally AutoCAD, as well as Oracle, IBM, and a list of many more, which I'm very happy to send through should anybody be interested. If we then go on to have a look at the overview of what we're working with today, in this particular scenario, we have our CoSign appliance, and as you can see, this is what Holly referred to earlier on as the CoSign Center, but I prefer the brain of the whole operation. As you can see, this is what does all the hard work. Here we have its built-in certificate management, so this is what manages and looks after the certificates for each individual users. We then have the built-in key management, so the CoSign solution actually works on a cryptographic method-based system. So this is a private key and a public key. Private key is usually for doing the encryption and signing, public key for the reverse. And also is what holds our graphical representation. So this is what I like to refer to as the human side of digital signatures. So being able to see a person's name as a signature or perhaps a graphic. In this particular scenario, we also have our CoSign appliance hooked straight up to Active Directory. So what this does is it gives us the benefit of low management in terms of user management. So rather than having to recreate some new users for this signature solution, we actually pull in our old users from our current system from within Active Directory. In this basic example, users would be able to sign and they would be connected directly to the CoSign appliance. A good example would be if you had CoSign and standalone with Microsoft Office. In this particular scenario we don't. We're going to be connecting it not only to Office but to our content server using our CoSign Fastment agent. And what this will allow us to do is it gives us the opportunity for our users to be able to log into a content server, perhaps via a mobile device or via the internet, via a browser, and sign documents which are saved within the content server using CoSign. Again, this is a very, very high level diagram and it's only to show and help illustrate the kind of infrastructure we're using here. There is a more technical side to things which, should you need or want more information, we'd be happy to send across. At this point, I'm going to give you an in-depth on the scenario. So in this particular example, we will be looking at a case where content server is used for document management and is also used to manage business processes and workflows. During this scenario, we're going to show how a user can submit their expenses either on an ad hoc basis or as part of a workflow to show how you can use CoSign and its out-of-the-box workflows to get users sign in and submitting expenses. At this point, I would like to start up my VM to show you the demo. You have to bear with me while I switch screens and log in. Awesome. So what we have now is our content server environment. So this is an environment which should be very familiar to our content users here on the call with us. As you can see, I have a list of folders within my enterprise library. And in this particular example, we're going to be working in our Tier 1 expenses folder for the London team. As you can see, there is very little difference been had so far. And this is a view of what your content server system will look like with CoSign already installed. If I then go on to view my folder, as you can see again, my view is exactly the same as it was, so I'm keeping a very familiar environment for my users, apart from the additional add-in of some CoSign columns. So in this case, you can see I have a column for a signature count, I have one for the signature date, one for signature status, and the final one for who the document has been signed for. In this particular example, you may have a case where certain documents require 2 signatures, and based on how many signatures they require, it will mark the status as valid or incomplete. So in this example, you can see the user or the employee Gunta, who only has 1 signature against her expenses, has a signature status of incomplete. So the benefit this does for users is it gives them a quick view of where the documents are and how many signatures are present when they were last signed and who they were signed last by. In my case, I am going to submit my expenses, which, as you can see, are for the month of February. Using my content server function menu, if I scroll down just so that my menu shows up full, you can see as part of the CoSign integration, I now have 3 new additional menu options. I have Sign with CoSign, Review Signatures, should I wish to review any signatures on the document I've selected, and also Initiate the signing workflow, should I wish to kick off some sort of signature workflow. In this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and choose Sign with CoSign to sign my expenses and submit. And what you have here is the starting of a CoSign signing ceremony. So at this point, as the first step of the CoSign signing ceremony, I'm being asked to identify myself. So going back to what Holly spoke of, she said a proper digital signature, or CoSign's approach to a proper digital signature, looks for identity, intent, and integrity. So at this point, I am identifying myself. So by logging into CoSign, in this example, I'm using a separate login as a further level and extra layer of security to log into the system. What you'll then have is my signing ceremony view. As part of my view, on the left, I have a preview screen, and as you can see, a preview is being generated of the document. In the right, I also have my CoSign signature options. So as you can see now, it's fully loaded. I have a preview of my expenses document, and via my signature profiles, I should be able to choose, and I can say in this example, I am the employee. And what this does is based on my document category type. So this is something which was predefined. By selecting the employee, it automatically highlights the employee signature box. So this is me using the CoSign solution and defining how my signature profiles are going to work against different documents. The benefit of this is if you have an occasion where users are using the same document or signing the same document over and over again, you can have predefined profiles. I can actually go as far as to lock this profile so that I only have the option to choose the employee because it's picked it up as being the first signature, so therefore only needing to be the employee. In this case, I don't. I have it as a free list, and I can just pick employee. I have in this particular example the new signature field option disabled, but what that would allow me to do is create somewhere new on the piece on my preview as to where I'd like to save my signature. In terms of my predefined reason for signing, so at this point we're now looking at my intent. I can choose I am the author. I also have the option enabled in this particular example to enter a new option should the option I need not be listed. In this case it is, so I can select I am the author. I can then go to pick my visual graphical representation of my signature. I scroll down and I can click sign. So at this point, not only have I completed my identification, I have gone on to complete my intent, and this will stamp my document with a signature which is valid, and moving forward will enable someone to check its integrity. So again, my 3 I's: identity, intent, and integrity. As you can see, the signing ceremony, as CoSign like to call it, has been completed. It has uploaded my signed document back to the content server. If I click done and I look at my document, in this particular example, I can see, if I select it, that my signed document now has 1 signature. It's picked up a timestamp of today. It has also marked my signature status as incomplete. In this particular example, it has marked it as incomplete because 2 signatures are required to submit your expenses. So what I can then do in this particular example is I can now initiate a workflow. So in the old days, in terms of a pen and paper signature, you'd have to print the document outside of content server, sign the document, and then go and put it on your manager's table, on your accounts table, or your accounts team table, and wait for them to sign it. And until they sign it, you don't get your expenses paid back. However, in this particular solution, I have the benefit of initiating a signing workflow. And as you can see, I have two, in this particular case, I have two options to choose from: an expenses approval workflow, or perhaps a management approval workflow. So perhaps my particular expenses submission is above a certain amount and it's business process. I know I need to go for further approval. In my particular case, it's not. So I'm going to tick or select expense approval. I can then go on to initiate my signing workflow. And as you can see, I'm presented with some instructions. In this case, I'm told it's been accepted and that I can set who I want to sign my document via my content server assignments area. So what I can then do is I'll, using content server, go to personal and into my assignments, and I can see the first step of my workflow. So again, I'm still within content server. I haven't left. I haven't had a need to leave. Within my assignments view, I can see I have something that needs doing, and it's clearly named as set signers. I can see there's no due date in this particular example, the priority, the status, who it's from. I can also see what it's called. In this case, it's clearly named approval expenses request raised by Mark, myself. All of this is very customizable, and it can be based on different workflow steps in your company and options you may need as part of your flow. In this case, I'll go on to complete my assignment, and again, I'm presented with some more instructions. Again, this screen very customizable, so should you want to make your instructions more in depth, you can. Well, here I'm told just to select my user via the attributes link on the left. So I'll go on to select my attributes link. I'll go on to select my first signer. In this case, my manager is actually Gunther. I'll search for Gunther again, all within content server. Select Gunther, apply, and then go on to send my expenses onto Gunther to sign, approve, and help me get my expenses paid as soon as possible. So in this case now, I'll log on to the system as Gunther. I also have Gunther's inbox open in the background, just so I can show you some other views in response to how perhaps Gunther might receive any notifications. I signed in as Gunther, and in this case, Gunther may have received a notification alerting her of our workflow, as part of the workflow, that she has some steps she needs to complete. In this case, Gunther again may use in the content server after logging in, go to assignments, and see that she has approval expenses to be approved, and that this is for myself, and this is the title of the workflow. So from here, Gunther can go on to click approve expenses. Again, Gunther's given a clear set of instructions explaining that she needs to, in this particular example, open the attachments links to view the attached document, and using the function menu, sign the document. So what Gunther can do here is follow the instructions. So by clicking on attachments, she can see my expenses. What she can then do to verify is perhaps download, open. And what Gunther will get when the document has opened and finished downloading is a view of my expenses in Adobe Reader in this particular example. But most importantly, she can see that since I have signed it, my signatures are not only valid, but I haven't changed anything. So this is the integrity aspect. If I zoom in at the bottom here, she can see my signature. She can also see the time and date it was signed, and she can see it remains valid. If I then click on my signature, she can see further information explaining that not only is it signed, it has not again been modified since I signed it. So Gunther, as my manager, can be happy. He may decide to close the view of that document, go on, and then, I need to scroll down to show the menu, and then go on to sign my expenses with CoSign. Alternatively, she may have decided to review my signatures using the review option in the function. So here you can see CoSign is communicating with the document, and it is explained to Gunther that the employee signature field was signed, the signature is valid, and none of the content has been changed. She can also see this is the reason that I placed as part of the signature. She can also finally see that as the authorizer, that signature field is still waiting her attention. Happy with this, Gunther can click OK. She can then go on, let me scroll down to bring the function menu up, and click Sign with CoSign. and again, she's brought to the signing ceremony. In this particular example, I will use the same login I used before. To access my signing ceremony, and again to identify and authenticate myself. And what Gunter will be presented with is the same view which I was presented to in the beginning, which is a view of a preview of my expense document to the left, the option to select a new signature field if it's available, the option to select a signature profile, again if available, locked or unlocked. In this case it's unlocked, and so she can select an authorizer, at which point it highlights and shows her on the document a preview where it will be signed. The further option is selecting her intent as to why she's decided to sign the document, in this example because she authorizes. And then, for the sake of our story, changing the signature to one which is different so you can see the differences in how Gunter's signature will appear alongside mine. So in this case, being happy, as Gunter I can click sign. And what this will do is sign the document with a separate signature, which should complete part of Gunter's task of having to sign the document. The second part being later to approve the document once the signature has been applied and attached to the document. As you can see, it's going through our CoSign signing ceremony, and a signature session has been completed and updated the document with a signature. As Gunter, I can now click done, and as part of my second steps, which was to then after signing select approve, I can now go on to say approve. This for me marks my task as complete, and in terms of the view, if I now go back, say as myself, and I go back into the enterprise workspace, if I go into view my expense document via the expenses folder, I can now see, if I select my expenses, that both signatures have been signed. This was the last date the last signature was on. This is my current signature status, and in this case, the last signee was again myself. So for a user, this is efficient in that no longer do they have to chase the people they need to sign the document or get updates, because as part of this particular workflow, they have the information provided to them. You can also have the system set up to give you notifications, send out emails at different points. If I go to this particular inbox, and I go back to my inbox, you can see, as it just came through, that I received a notification to explain that my expenses have been approved. So for the user, there's no need for them to go backwards and forwards to find out where the status of things are. Again, this is a very high-level demo, and it's a very quick one to show you at what point you can use the out-of-the-box workflow and how out-of-the-box you can be signing and authorizing documents either by yourself or as part of a team or as part of a process within minutes. If we then go back and I just give you a quick overview of some of the demo points. Throughout the demo, I tried to show you how compliance can be achieved in that you are using the CoSign implementation, producing documents which have integrity, which have certificates to help uphold compliance, in that not only can signatures be verified and the document integrity verified to ensure no users have tampered with the document, you also have a solution which is recognized, as Holly spoke about earlier, by many different global regulatory directives. Again, the solution is very easy to use in that it's based within your content server environment, so users aren't forced to having to learn a new system. It's all very familiar. And the process itself helps improve your older processes, perhaps having to sign documents pen and paper. Again, as Holly said, the need of having to print out a document, so taking it out of your content server to get it signed, only to scan it to have it back in again. Integration, in this particular example, we've shown how it can be integrated with OpenText Content Server. However, as I tried to illustrate earlier, the CoSign platform does work alongside the many other popular applications and can be used as a standalone just with Microsoft Office. Many of our customers and many of the feedbacks we've had back from other users of the CoSign implementation are always very, very, very impressed with how quick the rate of return on investment is. In this particular example, we're using it with Content Server. So not only are we getting a quick ROI in putting in the CoSign implementation, but we're also adding further value to systems we already have in place. At this point, I would like to hand you back over to Holly, who will go on to explain how ImageFast can help.
Thanks, Mark. So, how ImageFast can help? What we're offering is a 2-hour consultation with ImageFast, which includes a high-level review of your processes and identification of where the CoSign digital signatures would actually fit within your organisation. This will then finish with a business case preparation. Now, if this consultation is of interest to you, then you can either email or call ImageFast, or alternatively, if you'd like any other documentation on the CoSign digital signatures, you can also get in touch with the details on the slide as well. Thank you for attending today's webinar.